Capcom is a company with a ton of dormant franchises that haven't gotten new entries in a long time, and haven't really been acknowledged by them too much. I don't believe every video game series in existence needs consistent and quality releases, but it can be pretty depressing when the years start piling up and you realize it's been decades since one of your favorite video game series got any entries, for the sole reason that executives wouldn't deem it profitable. It stings even more when games aren't available on modern hardware. Luckily though, you can take solace in the fact that there are fans of the series just like you, and you can all be really annoying about it on Twitter. Yeah, Capcom has a ton of cult classic franchises, such as Dino Crisis, Power Stone, or of course Darkstalkers, that a lot of people still talk about to this day, and there are massive campaigns to bring them back, even if they can be pretty annoying to someone who doesn't like the games, and can't go through a post by Capcom's comments without someone begging for Darkstalkers 4 or something. But there's one massive Capcom franchise that doesn't really get talked about by the fanbase, and compared to other games, its fanbase is significantly smaller. It's not as neglected as Darkstalkers, but it's still been treated pretty poorly by Capcom lately. It's sold nearly twice of all copies of the Dino Crisis series, and it's had a massive influence on its genre as well. The first game was literally the best-selling PS2 game ever at one point according to IGN. I'm not even kidding. That series is Onimusha. Capcom is surprisingly open about how many copies their series have sold, and the Onimusha series have sold a combined total of 8.4 million, which as of 2024 makes it their 10th best-selling series. It sold better than Power Stone, Ghosts and Goblins, Dino Crisis, Lost Planet, and Breath of Fire, just to name some of Capcom's other series. It's pretty impressive actually, and it definitely has a place in Capcom's lineup. The series has had 4 main entries from 2001 to 2006, a tactics spin-off for Game Boy Advance, and even a platform fighter spin-off in Onimusha Blade Warriors. For some reason, Mega Man Zero and Mega Man.exe are playable in it. That's probably the most mid-2000s Capcom thing ever. I talked about this on this channel before, and I am 100% going to talk about Onimusha Blade Warriors in another video. So, if you're interested, feel free to subscribe, and I would appreciate it if you did that and maybe watch another video too. This franchise has been super influential on the character action genre too. It released 8 months before Devil May Cry, and years before God of War was ever a thing. And you know how that genre's main thing is how you juggle enemies by attacking them? Yeah, that was directly from Onimusha. The action of juggling enemies was popularized in games like Devil May Cry, but inspired by Onimusha. That's according to Hideki Kamiya himself, the director of the first Devil May Cry. All of this is to say, Onimusha is a big deal. Or rather, it deserves to be a big deal. It's not really talked about very much anymore. The last actual new entry was 18 years ago, but there is a remaster of the first game, Onimusha Warlords, on modern hardware that kinda sucks. It didn't make the changes in that game's updated re-release, and there were several obvious changes like the ability to skip cutscenes this remaster never added. And to add insult to injury, this game was very clearly made with that corporate mindset where they release a game to test to see if the market would be interested in more, and this re-release underperformed. None of the other games received remasters. There was an Onimusha TV series on Netflix released in 2023 though. More on that in a little bit. So this is a successful series that a lot of people have played and enjoyed. And yeah, this series 100% has its fans, but bizarrely, significantly less than other Capcom series. Just anecdotally, I've seen a ton of people who know Capcom or video games fairly well who don't know about this series, and a lot of people who don't know what it's about at all, at least here on the English-speaking internet, and plenty of people who aren't me have pointed this out as well. On everybody's favorite social media site Reddit, r/Onimusha only has 2.2 thousand members, compared to 4.7k on r/Dino Crisis, 6.1k on r/Breath of Fire, or 6.6k on Darkstalkers. Even the Darkstalkers porn subreddit has more subscribers. So, why? If Onimusha is such a good series, where's all the love? Wait, is it a good series? Yes, it's a good series. I can understand you if you like Darkstalkers more. In fact, I do like Darkstalkers more. But the disproportionate rate of success and love from the fanbase is odd. That's what I'm saying here. Is this series actually good, though? Well, let's find out. The only Onimusha game I've played personally has been the first one, Onimusha Warlords, and it's a pretty great game. You play as Samanosuke Akechi, a samurai in the Sengoku era of Japan, moving through a castle keep and surrounding area to rescue a princess, solving puzzles, fighting enemies, and beating bosses. The villains are a race of demons called Genma, and you get a gauntlet from a race of Oni which you can use to pick up souls when you kill enemies, giving you magic or health back. It's a pretty short game at only 4 to 6 hours too, and as an early PS2 game it's pretty simple. The game was originally envisioned as a spin-off to the Resident Evil series, and that's evident in the fixed camera angles and tank controls, which is an interesting choice in a hack and slash. In case you don't know, tank controls are a style where the left and right buttons on the D-pad make you shimmy from... In case you don't know, tank controls are a style where the left and right buttons on the D-pad make you pivot left or right, and the forward button makes you walk forward. It's a control style most common in horror games like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, due to its ability to make situations tense. It's difficult to get used to while fighting enemies, but once you get the hang of it and you begin to learn some of the nuances with the combat, it becomes really unique. You can strafe all around opponents, stab and block, kick, or plant your sword to the ground and swing it upwards. It makes for combat that feels visceral. It's a style that's not really trying to be flashy, but works very well. It's a little lame how the game never really explains this though. You just have to figure out a lot of its moves, and I never even figured out the fact you could strafe until the first boss. That remark I made about the Oni Gauntlet might have raised some eyebrows, because yes, it's true. Every time you attack, you need to hold the O button to suck up orbs from demons, and that refills your health. That might seem like it removes some of the tension, or makes this game a little too easy, but I disagree. Because it's a lot of fun to have to find a time in a tense combat situation to hold a button and regain health. Bosses are also a highlight. The more personal nature of combat gives it an almost Souls-like vibe, although this is a place where the fixed camera angles get annoying rather than add to the fun. It's also very lame that cutscenes are unskippable, so you'll need to watch them over and over again in a fight with the boss. At least that's a pretty easy game, so you might not need to restart too much. I actually like the story enough though. For an early PS2 title, it's surprisingly well directed, which is evident in the opening cutscene. Not for the English dub though.
Huh? Didn't know humans could be such pests? Where is the princess?
There's also some puzzle-solving elements, and they're not that big a standout, but do keep the game fresh, even though they can be inconsistent in quality at times. You can also play as Samanosuke's hot ninja GF Kaide at certain points in the story, and she's not really as fun since she can't use the gauntlet to recover health or use any special moves. So yeah, overall Onimusha is a solid game, and it deserves to be remembered fondly. From what I heard, the series gets better too. Onimusha 2, 3, and Dawn of Dreams are looked at fondly. Onimusha 2 is more of an evolution of the first game, with a new protagonist, and Onimusha 3 involves Samanosuke returning, and it's about him time traveling to 2004 France, and, you know, I don't hate that idea. Dawn of Dreams is more of a stylish Devil May Cry-like action game, although people don't really like it as much. The general consensus from what I can see is that Onimusha is a fairly consistent series in terms of quality if we're talking about mainline. And then the newer Netflix show. Yeah, it's pretty inconsistent. I haven't seen it, but people criticize the CGI animation style, and the story isn't really similar to Onimusha at all. It has the demons and the Oni Gauntlet, but it's about Miyamoto Musashi, and features no characters from the games, not even any villains. Like, I think we've seen enough anime about Miyamoto Musashi. Although a little fun fact is that Miyamoto Musashi debuted as a character in Onimusha Blade Warriors. So technically this is a show about Onimusha Blade Warriors. That's hilarious. So now that we know the Onimusha series is quality, influential, and sold well, what caused its modern lack of popularity, and that new remaster underperforming? That's a great question. You are so smart and so beautiful. I think I have a few theories. This might sound strange, but I think a big part of the lack of popularity for Onimusha might be the lack of presence in any significant crossovers for Capcom. Think about it. Marvel vs. Capcom has done a lot to get people thinking about Capcom's franchises as being united, and Onimusha only got representation in the roster of one fighting game crossover, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. This is almost certainly because the series uses famous actors to play the likenesses of their protagonists, and licensing out a face like this would be a lot of work for a franchise where you're already getting a license from Marvel. This is probably the reason they were so hesitant to remaster Onimusha 2 and 3 as well. The character who was playable in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom was Kaijin Nosoki, the protagonist of Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. That's the only mainline entry where a celebrity doesn't play the protagonist. I don't think it's the only reason because, again, Dino Crisis, but it's pretty telling that I barely ever see Onimusha representation suggested in Marvel vs. Capcom sequel ideas I see. Another potential reason might be that in the West there's sort of an oversaturation in its genre. Someone could look at Onimusha, see that it's a samurai hack and slash game and say, okay, what differentiates this from literally any Koei Tecmo game? 2001 was also a very stacked time for the PS2, and it's easy for a modern audience to gloss over it in its history, or to have it be overshadowed by vaguely similar games. There's also the matter of its sibling, Devil May Cry, which was also supposed to be Resident Evil, and is a hack and slash game with a demon theme as well, released in 2001, only it's not in samurai times and doesn't have tank controls. It also absolutely does emphasize being stylish too, and the series has proven way more popular than Onimusha. Those options both might be it, honestly, and it definitely could be a bit of both. But really, I think the biggest reason Onimusha isn't as popular is life's not fair. Sometimes there isn't a reason for it, and a popular thing just drops off, or something doesn't become as popular as it reasonably should be. Whatever people decide to buy is arbitrary, and we can't always guess why. Seriously, this might genuinely be the only reason why. It's a hard topic to say anything definitive about, but I think every one of those possibilities could be true at once, and probably is true at once. You know, I've been trying to spend a lot of time here justifying why Onimusha doesn't have a big fan base, but there's no real need to be that down about it. There's still a lot of fans, and if you want to talk about the series, there's lots of places to do so in. If you haven't played Onimusha, I definitely recommend the first one at least, because it's a perfect experience to spend a weekend going through, and it's a title with a significantly understated importance to gaming history. I don't think it's good enough for me to annoyingly insist you should play it, but I will annoyingly insist you should acknowledge it. There is something to appreciate here. And if this series could get a massive resurgence in popularity and a whole bunch of new titles, that could be good too. So, to answer the question of where's the love for Onimusha, it's there. It's definitely there, but it's complicated, and sometimes human beings love things arbitrarily. That's a way bigger topic than this video, though. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Also, if you ever wanted to play as Le Frog from Flushed Away, well, let's just say, this is the closest thing you'll ever get. This is almost certainly because the series uses famous actors to play the likenesses of their fuck, okay.